Hello everybody, welcome back to my Country Sparkles channel. Today we are going to be canning pears. I'm going to show you all the steps that you need to know in order to can some pears. So first of all, I just prepped everything. Canning things takes a lot of boiling water, especially with water bathing canning. So we've got our water bathers outside on a Camp Chef, boiling water right now, so they're all ready to put cans in. I've got water behind me right now to blanch the pears in to get their skins off. I've also got syrup, which is, I have a light syrup going right now, coming up to a boil behind me on my stovetop, which is 5 1/4 cup water and 2 1/4 cup sugar mixed together, and then that'll be the syrup, which we will pour on top of the pears after we've put them in the cans. So lots of water boiling back there, and then here I've got cool water to put the pears in, and then I've got some lemon juice water to keep the pears from browning. So lots of water stuff that need to be prepped. And then I've got my canning jars here, which I rinsed and washed with hot water. I washed them with soap a couple days ago, and I just re-rinsed them again to sterilize them with super hot water, as hot as I could stand, really as hot as my sink could go. I rinsed them off, and that's what we're going to be using for canning. So that's what we're doing. So for starters, I have one more can, so let me go rinse that real fast, or not can, we're canning, but really use jars for canning. So let me go rinse off that jar just real fast. I'll point you over there, show you how I rinse it. It's super easy. Okay, for sterilizing jars, it's super easy. You take your jar, you can either wash it in the dishwasher or with soap and water sometime before you use it, within a day or so. And then right before I use it, I turn my water on as hot as I can get it, and I rinse off the whole outside to sterilize it. Just make sure no germs have gotten on there, and I rinse off the entire inside, especially the lip of the mouth, because that's where it's going to be sealing. You want to make sure that's nice and clean. Get the jar nice and hot, and then you just put it over on your rag with others. Okay, now that the cans are all washed and steamed, it's okay for them to be wet. They can have water on the outside. That won't cause any harm in the sealing process or anything like that. But now we're going to take our pears, and I have a little blanching basket here, and I'm going to dip them into my boiling water, which I hear it's boiling back here. And turn those down. Those are actually my syrups boiling. And I've got my water right here boiling to blanch these in, and I'm just going to blanch them in there for like 20 to 30 seconds to help the skins come off. I had a few too many pears in there and they weren't in the water, so I had to take them out, but now I've got them all in the water. I'm going to just let those blanch for probably about 10 more seconds, so a total of between 20 and 30 seconds, just to loosen the skins up so they'll fall off and it's easy to peel them. Okay, and then I'll take them out, and I'm gonna pour them over here into my cool water bath. Drip them off a little bit. Now I'll put in my cool water bath. So this had ice in it, it's melted, whoop, but the water's still cool. So it's still good to go. And then, right here, as you can see this one, pill's already coming off of it. Oh man, look how easy this pill slides off. Just from a couple seconds in the boiling water to be blanched, and the pill just peels off like that. You can just rub it off in the water, and I'll just leave it in the water. And then after rubbing it off in the cool water, so you want to put it in cool water to stop the cooking process because you don't want your pears to be all mushy. I put them in my water and lemon juice solution to keep the pears from turning brown. So that is the next step in canning pears, and I'll just pull all these skins off real fast and I'll be right back. Okay, after you have your pears all skinned, now you want to cut them in half, take out the middles, and cut off any blemishes that you find didn't come off with the skins. So cut it in half, and then I have this strawberry topper that I love for strawberries, but I also love it for stuff like this, and I'm just dropping the excess in to my cool water because I'm going to change that batch anyways. I like cutting mine in fourths, so I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to put them straight into the jars. So now let's do another one. Any blemishes would be bruises or scarring spots from when they grew or anything like that, are the kind of blemishes I'm talking about. So now I'm just going to finish cutting up my pears, and then once they're all done, I'll be right back. Okay, so now I have 1 water bath canner worth of jars filled up with pears, so that's 7 jars, and now I'm ready to pour in my water sugar syrup mixture. Now let's pour some syrup in there. So my pears, I want them to be right at the lower lip of the canning jar, and then I will fill the syrup up to that same spot. And the syrup is boiling. That helps the canning process, so that way when I put the cans into the boiling water in the water baths, the jars won't break. And it also helps to kill any bacteria, and it helps with sealing the jars. So you definitely want to make sure that your syrups or juices that you're adding into any of your canning stuff is hot, so that way you have the best possible outcomes. Oh no, it looks like I'm gonna need to make some more syrup. I'll be right back. So while I'm waiting for that syrup to finish up over there and to fill my last 2 jars, I'm gonna go ahead and wipe off the rims of these other jars and get their lids on them and get them ready to put out into the water baths. So I cleaned it off with a clean rag, and it's damp. And now I've got my lids here that I heated up, boiled in some water for a minute. I also put vinegar in them to get them nice and clean, make sure they're clean. And vinegar will also help the sealing. And then, but all the water drips off, so you're not gonna get any vinegar in your pears. It was just a dash of vinegar anyways. But, so I'm gonna put the lids on. And so I'll put the tops on first. All these ones that I wiped off. Just like that. And then take the rings and you tighten those on. The next will be to put them in the water bath outside, which is nice and boiling out on my Camp Chef. I like to do outside because then it keeps my house not so hot, and I don't have to use every single burner on my stove. So I'll get these all finished lid, and then I'll show you how I put them outside. Before I head outside, I want to tell you about this canning rack. It goes inside the canner, and I'm going to carry my jars out in it, and that'll help me lower and down into the boiling water safely. This is what it looks like on that rack. It's a little heavy, so you got to be just slow and steady wins the race. So I'm going to haul these out to my boiling water, and I will show you my canners out there. Okay, here's what it looks like when I'm about to put it in the water. So I filled the water up in there about 2/3 of the way full. I've let it boil, and it's just being opening. It's stopped boiling right now, but I'll lower it in and then show you what that looks like. So there it is lowered in. You want the water to be about 1 inch over top of the canning jars. As you can see, the water's coming back up to a boil. So now I will set my timer for 40 minutes, and I'll just let it sit in there. You don't do anything to it, just let it boil. If it gets too crazy of a boil, you can turn the temperature down, but like I said, nothing too crazy. So 40 minutes, and then I'll take it out. And there's a lid that goes on top of it too, to keep the heat in, so that way it maintains temperature and you waste less water. Okay, so I took my pears out of the canner before I showed you guys like the whole process, but I wanted to show that to you. So here's a little mock-up of it. So pretend like those green beans are pears, but I just canned them like a couple days ago. I can't use my pears because after you put them on the counter, you don't want to touch them for 24 hours, so that way they can get a really good seal. So not touching those, don't want to mess it up. So here you've got your beans, pretend like there's water in there too, and then you pull it up by taking these and you lift it up. So let me lift those up real fast. And look at that, isn't that so nifty? Like they have these little hooks here so it can just lay halfway in the water. And then if you're inside, which you can totally can inside, I just like to do outside to keep the heat out. You take your canning tongs here like this, And then you lift it up like this, and you just put them over to the side, and you let them sit. That's it. And what I do from the outside is I take the entire thing, I'll put gloves on, and I'll grab each side, and I'll just carry this whole thing in, and then take my tongs and set them all out to the side. So that's the only difference that I do, doing it inside compared to outside. So after your pears are all done processing in the water bath, then you take them out and then you set them on your counter, like I have mine back there. You want to let them sit for up to 24 hours so that way they can all seal, and you should be able to hear them sealing because I'll make a little popping sound. And then after 24 hours, check the lids to make sure none of them are still popped up. If they are, that means they didn't seal and you need to eat them right away. But the rest, you can put them down in your storage, and they're good for a year or longer down there. A lot of canning foods is like around 5-ish years. Good to go in storage. So that's about what I do. And they don't often last like more than a year, but when they do, I still feel totally safe eating them after 5 years. As long as everything's sealed properly and you took the time to prepare everything carefully, then you should be good to go. So that is how I can pears, and I hope that you learned something from this video and enjoyed it. And if you did, give it a thumbs up and a like down below and subscribe so we can see you next time. And I hope you join us. See you guys later. Bye.